Namaste, Pranam, Gita Dhyana. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamritavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatva Manusandadami Bhagavad Gite Bhavadveshinim. O Bhagavad Gita, with which Lord Narayana himself gave enlightenment to Partha, the ancient sage Vyasa included it in the Mahabharata. O Goddess, content in the 18 chapters and bestower of the nectar-like knowledge of non-dualism. O my affectionate mother, the destroyer of rebirth, I meditate upon thee. Now, Krishna Vandana. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kansachanuramardanam Devakim Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadguru. O son of Vasudeva, the slayer of Kansa and Chanur, extreme delight for Mother Devaki. O Lord Krishna, the supreme teacher of the universe, my salutations to you. So, today we are going to take up the reading of 64th Shloka of Sri Krishna telling Arjuna that having taken up the mind from the sense objects, where it should be placed, and then what happens. Sri Krishna says, rāga-dveṣha-viyuktais viṣhayān indriyaiśh charan ātma-vaśhyair-vidheyātmā prasādam adhigachchhati. Rāga-dveṣha-viyuktais. Rāga-dveṣha. We have seen the raga is attachment, dveṣha is repulsion, aversion. These are the two opposite qualities of the mind. When it gets tempted by some object, it gets attached to it, gets attracted to it. Raga. Raga is not the meaning normally taken up as anger. No, this raga in Sanskrit, this raga is for the attachment. Raga-bhakti, that is what we call it in Sanskrit. The devotion with great amount of attachment, yearning for the God, raga-bhakti. That raga, Sri Krishna is talking about, the rāga-dveṣha-viyuktais, free from attachment and dveṣha. Dveṣha is aversion, dislike, hatred, all those negative qualities. So, the mind free from attachment and aversion towards what? viṣhayān indriyaiśh charan. viṣhayān indriyaiśh charan. Viṣhaya is objects, sense objects. Indriyaiśh, with the senses. Charan, moving. Moving among the objects. Moving among the sense objects, but free from attachment and aversion. We are there in the world, surrounded by all those sense objects. We have to move. And Sri Krishna says, one who moves among these objects without any attachment, without any hatred or aversion. ātma-vaśhyair-vidheyātmā. ātma-vaśhyair is self-restrained, having controlled, with the self-control, with the self-mastery. Atma is self. Vaśhyair, controlled, mastered, tamed. Vidheyātmā, the self-controlled. Prasādam adhigachchhati. He attains, adhigachchhati attains. Attains what? Prasādam. tranquility, peace, the grace of God. Prasādam is peace or tranquility or the bliss which we attain with the grace of God. So Sri Krishna says in this particular shloka, but the disciplined yogi moving among objects with senses under control and free from attachment as well as aversion, gains in peace of mind, gains in tranquility. In the previous chapters, in the previous two shlokas, Sri Krishna has cautioned us how this mind, how this thought on the sense objects can lead to our self-destruction, pranashyati. That's what he had told. He had told the entire sequence of events, how it happens, Sri Krishna had beautifully explained. First it is a casual thought, then it is a constant dwelling on that sense object. Once we have that constant thinking, constant dwelling on that sense object, there starts the attachment towards that sense object. Once having got that attachment, once we become attached to that sense object, we desire to possess that object, to enjoy that object. And under the circumstances that we are not able to enjoy it, we are not able to possess it, what happens? Krodha. The anger sets in. And then that chain reaction, once the anger sets in, having not enjoyed that sense object, having not got an opportunity of enjoying, of fulfilling the desire of enjoying that sense object, the anger sets in and starts the chain reaction. Krodhat bhavati sammoha. Sammohat smriti vibhrama. The moment krodha sets in, then there is loss of memory. Once there is loss of memory, we don't have any feedback mechanism to tell us, don't go after that. In the past you have gone, you have suffered, don't do it. With that smriti bhransha, with that loss of memory, what happens? We lose our power of discrimination. And then buddhinasho, with that buddhinash, once we lose that power of discrimination, once we lose that power of reasoning, that is not good, this is good, go after the good, don't go after the bad. That power having lost, that power of reasoning, power of discrimination having lost, it leads to pranashyati, it is all self-destruction. So, beware. Control your mind. Let not mind get attached to the sense objects. First of all, let not mind dwell, thought about it. You may be there. Sense objects are always there around us. We cannot stop it. But we can elevate ourselves to go above those sense objects. We can surpass those sense objects so that no desire creeps in our mind. And therefore Sri Krishna says, rāga-dveṣha-viyuktais tu viṣhayān indriyaiśh charan. Having lost the, having abandoned, having given up the desire for enjoying those sense objects, and having made our mind free from attachment and aversion. Both these elements, the attachment as well as aversion, can lead to self-destruction, because even if we have aversion for the sense object, all that negativity gets piled up. Oh, that is not good, that is not good. Well, why think of that is not good? Instead, Sri Krishna has given us that beautiful formula of putting our mind on the Lord, of focusing our mind on the Lord. And then Sri Krishna had told in that verse that having done that, you go beyond attachment or aversion towards the sense objects. And here also he says, the disciplined yogi, moving among the objects with senses under control, is free from attachment, free from attraction, and free from repulsion, free from hatred, free from aversion. And then he enjoys that peace of mind, that tranquility with my grace. The senses are extrovert by nature. They ramble in fields external. Those objects that are pleasing to them are hugged, while those others that are displeasing, they are shunned, they are even they are hated, all those objects. Now a closer study reveals that these senses are themselves instruments in the hands of mind. As goaded on by the mind, they indulge in attraction or aversion. Now Sri Krishna says, neither attraction is good nor aversion is good. Go beyond that. Neither sukha is good nor dukkha is good. Go beyond that. Try to, practice to look at them with equanimity. The sukh and dukh. The labh and alabh. The profits and the loss. Look, get into the habit of looking at all these pairs of opposites. The attachment and aversion. Get to the habit of looking at these pairs of opposites with equanimity, with the same sightedness, and that is again sthita prajna. He is a yogi who has conquered his mind. He makes it revel in the Atman. If it ever goes outward, it does so being untainted by aversion and attraction. A yogi is never bothered. A yogi is beyond all this. There is purity as well as innocence in its contacting the external objects. When a yogi, when a self-illumined person, when a person who has now gained the Brahma-jnana, the Atma-jnana, he also lives in this world. He, she, they live in this world. There are people who have attained to illumination living in this world, and they live in this world like a drop of water on the lotus leaf. It doesn't, with that drop of water, the lotus leaf, it doesn't become wet. It is just an appearance of that drop of water. How beautiful it looks. But the moment that water droplet falls off the leaf, there is no trace of wetness on the leaf. These realized souls, they live in the world like that. They don't have any aversion. They don't have any attachment. They live beyond these. And that's what Sri Krishna is telling us. Live like that. On the other hand, calmness and clarity increase. Once you have gone beyond aversion and attraction and attachment, there is a divine peace in the mind. There is a divine bliss in the mind because the person becomes one with Satchitananda, the existence, knowledge, bliss absolute. Once he becomes one with Satchitananda, there is nothing else but tranquility. It is a form of samadhi for the mind to be fixed in purity and calmness. If we read Sri Ramakrishna's life, the way he used to get into samadhi, into ecstasy, that he used to come down. I mean, the narrated incidents in Kathamrita, the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, and even in the great master that Swami Sardanandaji has written, it is mentioned that when he used to come down from the plane of the divine realm, from that ecstasy, there used to be a beautiful smile on his lips. A beautiful smile indicating such a great amount of peace and bliss. Having merged the self with the self. And to further talk about Sri Ramakrishna's life, experiencing that samadhi, what Sri Krishna has written here, prasādam adhigachchhati, that tranquility is attained, having gone beyond the aversion and attachment. And controlling the senses. Sri Ramakrishna's life exemplifies this fact. The sight of an extensive verdure below and dense black clouds above with a group of snow-white cranes in flight in between took him into the beyond. This had happened when Sri Ramakrishna was just a child. He was, walking across the rice fields, paddy fields in Kamarpukur. He was going from Kamarpukur to his relative's place with some of the ladies of that village. He was just a young boy, 6-7 years. And what happened? He's there in that paddy field, lush green paddy around, and a dark cloud coming up in the sky, huge clouds. So here bottom there is a lush green paddy. Up there is a dark cloud, and suddenly a fleet of cranes flying in the sky. And Sri Ramakrishna suddenly looking at that particular scene, the greenery below, the black clouds above, and those white cranes flying in this background with this facade. Sri Ramakrishna's mind suddenly went into ecstasy. He went into a divine mood. Just a young boy, young child. He had not even, reached that level of youth or adulthood when actually he started practicing austerities. It was much earlier as a child. Just having seen that particular scene, his mind just went into the divine realm. He lost his consciousness, fell down on the ground. And then all those ladies surrounding him, they were scared. What has happened to Gadai? What has happened to Gadai? Gadadhar Sri Ramakrishna's name, and he was fondly called by all his relatives as Gadai. So that's what happens when you don't have a tinge of attachment to the worldly objects, or when you don't have a tinge of aversion towards the worldly sense objects. Your mind is totally away from this realm, and just a hint of the divine in any form. Like Sri Ramakrishna got that hint in the form of that lush green paddy field below and the dark cloud and those white cranes flying across. That just gave him that brought back that association of his real self with the divine. And that is what, if we read the lives of all these great people, the realized souls, we always find this quality in them. We always find these things happening in their lives. Or take the example of when he was being, when Sri Ramakrishna was being, he was to act in the part of Lord Shiva. What had happened in Kamarpukur on a Shivratri night, there used to be an acting of some plays. Now the actor who was going to play Shiva's role, he fell sick, and everybody requested Gadai, why don't you don't have to utter any dialogues. You just have to stand there with that trident in your hand, dressed up like Lord Shiva. You just have to stand, no dialogues, nothing. Just be there as Lord Shiva, just stand there. And as he was getting made up, as people were, dressing him up like Lord Shiva, and like Lord Shiva, as people started applying that holy ash on his person, on his body, the association of that holy ash with Lord Shiva just took off Sri Ramakrishna's mind into the realm of Lord Shiva. He went into trance, he went into ecstasy. Everybody, while the drama was going on, and here is Lord Shiva on the night of Shivaratri. Sri Ramakrishna dressed up as Shiva, and on that night of Shivaratri, getting into that ecstatic mood, merged his self into the self of Shiva, into the thought of Shiva. Just by applying that holy ash to his body. He was just transported away from this realm, from this earthly realm to the divine realm. And this is what was seen in his life every time. Just a small hint, a small association of anything with divine, he used to just get into it. While talking to him, just start talking about things divine. Just say Krishna, just say Kali, and he would get into that mode. Because he was totally away, his mind was totally away from attachment and aversion for the things worldly. Thus, all the five senses served him as gateways to the noumenon. Whether it is sight, whether it is smell, even smell of an incense stick which was burned, that used to transport his mind away into the divine realm. So all the five senses which normally makes we ordinary people tempted towards the object, sense objects. For a person like Sri Ramakrishna, for a divine being like Sri Ramakrishna, the same very senses. He also had the same eyesight. He could also hear the same things. He could smell the same things. He could touch the smell things. But whenever his senses used to go outbound, they had contact only with the divine in those objects, not like us. And that's what Sri Krishna tells us. That whenever your mind goes to the objects, be there, be amongst the objects, but don't look at the sensuality, don't look at the carnality, don't look at all those sense gratifying qualities in those objects. Rather, look at them from the divine perspective. This book is there. Now what is there in that book? In that book is the name of the Lord, my mother. Get associated with that kind of association. Why to think about only the negatives, only the self-destructing things in the objects? Even if somebody, such a elated soul, even if you give that person some trash to read, which has got nothing spiritual or divine written in it, but even such people, having looked at that word, one word, they will immediately have the correlation of that word with the divine. If there is any word starting with K, they won't associate that K with the word Kama. They won't associate that K with Kamini. They will associate that word K with Krishna, with Kali. That is the difference between what Sri Krishna wants us to do and what we actually are doing. So that is this beautiful solution that Sri Krishna has given. Live in the world. Viṣhayān, indriyaiśh, charan. You live, move around in this world filled with sense objects. But look at these sense objects without any attachment, without any aversion. Go beyond that. Let us try to, practice this particular quality that Sri Krishna has, advised us. Let us not, the moment we read some word starting with Ka, let us not associate that word with Kama or Kanchan or Kamini. Let us build up that habit. Let us make that practice of associating that word starting with Ka with Krishna or Kali. So that is Sri Krishna's teaching, and then like he has said that ātma-vaśhyair-vidheyātmā prasādam adhigachchhati, like having self-controlled the mind, having had a self-control, get into that state of having eternal peace, tranquility. Prasādam adhigachchhati. Go and enjoy that peace. Why go and suffer by thinking about that girl as Kamini Kanchan? So that is our reading of 64th shloka of what should the mind win from the senses, where it should be placed. So let us be in the world aloof, above the realm of attraction and aversion. So that is our advice for the day. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Sri Ram Krishna. Jai Thakur. Jai Swami.